Wasabi Wallet, a famous privacy wallet similar to Samurai Wallet, has run into trouble. They've decided to pre-censor Bitcoin transactions before they allow you to use their CoinJoin software. So if your Bitcoin address was on a bad list, you wouldn't be able to use the CoinJoin software to attempt to hide or to disguise the source of your funds. Many are upset with Wasabi, which focused heavily on privacy and now is delivering this less than exciting update. Dan, Eve, your thoughts on the Wasabi wallet controversy?
Well, privacy is always like a really difficult thing to discuss because some people say like, oh, we need full transparency. Well, I say it's difficult to discuss as in just because you suggest that you want to be private with your transactions and certain data, people suggest that they link it to this nefarious activity. And Bitcoin obviously is there's still that stigma of it being the incorrect stigma that it's a completely private sort of permissionless money system, and it's used for only nefarious activities and like kidnappings and money laundering and terrorism and all the bad things that they say. But obviously, it's a public blockchain. But privacy is more than just being able to hide financial transactions. Obviously, there's things like wages that you don't, people don't know publicly what your wages are. Mostly, they don't know what your life savings are. They don't know what your political interests are, even hobbies that you might be embarrassed. Maybe you're a knitting connoisseur and you're not quite, you don't want the guys at the rugby club to find out that you. But the fact is,
So
privacy is
many
more
of
than
us
just
have been hiding our knitting backgrounds.
privacy is more than just hiding something that's dodgy, right? It's your right to having a space where you can message, and whether that's a message, and communicating, whether that's communicating with money or communicating with something else. It's something that I think that you have as a right as privacy. But there is obviously the debate that anything that's private should be actually in the public domain, because otherwise it means that you've got something to hide. And I really hate that saying, right, that you just because you do something and you want it to be private, there's a reason that you've got to hide it. But they do seem, Wasabi, like they're kind to be trying to be ahead of the curve, right? The regulation hammer, let's face it, is gonna come down pretty hard. I think that unfortunately, there's and even Kraken, like Jesse has said, keep your coins off exchanges ultimately, because the regulation hammer is going to come down, and when it does, they're going to have to abide or they'll get shut down, and no one wants to get shut down. Because it means you end up becoming the whack-a-mole. So there's some things you've got to concede to, and privacy is, whilst you want to protect it at the same time, you also want to stay alive as a company, because that's what provides you and your staff a means of living, and that's your goal, is to provide a service. And sometimes you've got to kind of keep on the train tracks of regulation. But yeah, I think they're trying to distance themselves but from the nefarious side of all the coin joins being used only for bad things. So as a business move, they've kind of got to do it, otherwise they're going to be forced out of the system. And I don't know, it's a very difficult thing, but ultimately, Chain Snitch and co. These services sniffing around the blockchain, they're only going to proliferate. They're only going to become more common, right? Chain Snitch is the one that everyone knows. But as the regulators grow stronger, as their powers go stronger, all the analytics is going to grow stronger. And so, you're going to get caught out eventually if you are doing anything nefarious. So in a way, in an odd way, all the chain sniffing could lead to people, more proof that Bitcoin's used for actual positive activity than the negative activity. So even though it's a shit thing, people snooping on transactions, it could turn out for the better of Bitcoin, because there'll be more research that shows that Bitcoin's used for the good and not for the bad. Yeah,
It really does seem like it was set up to fail from the beginning. If you say, I'm going to build a secret system where you can send around all your money and no one will know about it, but we're setting up a traditional corporation and we're taking venture capital and you can find our office at this address. It seems like there was always going to be this problem. Now, maybe they've force their hand here by saying they're going to do this pre-check for every address that enters the system. But again, it just seemed badly set up from the beginning. Unfortunately, whether you like it or not, these new ideas of raising money, such as DAOs and other things, although it failed with Dark Wallet, there was no Dark Wallet product, but there were a lot of money donated. Still is probably your best chance at getting this kind of software. But even then, would you be able to trust the software if it was produced by such a shadowy group of individuals? Martine Wishmayer, your thoughts about the Wasabi failure?
Yeah, I've been told it's going to be forked into Wasabi Cash, and that will have no such scanning abilities. And Wasabi Cash will be the real Wasabi. So I'm not sure what will happen there, but I read that there is a way around it. You can set up your own mixing coin join group, but there is nothing in the configuration that allows you to change it. So you'd have to start editing config files, which it basically means that you and your friends can mix coins together and spend together. So it totally defeats the purpose. I think they more or less killed the company on this one, and it's sad to see. I do like any new initiatives in Bitcoin that try to increase its privacy, because as Dan said, it's important that there is some privacy. Just people that say, "Oh, I have nothing to hide," usually have nothing to say either. So I think everybody has a right to a little bit of privacy, even if it's just to prevent everyone from knowing your entire Bitcoin stack. So, but yeah, for Wasabi, I don't know. At first, there's another product, I believe, Samurai Wallet. And they were like the competitors. They were like the two Japanese named wallets that would give privacy to Bitcoin. So I think somebody at Samurai is probably laughing and think, we won. But for Wasabi, I don't think it's too late. I think they should just fork into a new product. And it could be all the same developers, but then, I don't know, name Wasabi Cash might not be a good name for the wallet. I think I read somewhere somebody suggested Sake, because if you have Sake wallets and you have Wasabi wallets, and so it stays in this Japanese naming convention. And but I never used those wallets either, to be honest. I like it from a new technology viewpoint, but I have no real need for it on daily use. So I hope it get fixed.
Waiting for
Sounds like
Bukaki wallet.
Bukaki. We'll see if the source is mightier than the sword with Wasabi versus Samurai.
It is funny, all these privacy wallets with the Japanese names. Of course, there's a quick workaround. If you are a criminal and you're really fast and your address isn't in the list yet, you could still mix your coins. But what if your address was added to the bad list by mistake? Joshua Shigala, what would happen if you were bad listed by mistake?
Yeah, I mean, we've been running Voltoro.com since 2015, and as regulations are built up and up over time, we've had to comply with all of this stuff with regulations, and we can see what we see in the back end. And funnily enough, what doesn't make sense to me is that if your coins have been through a mixer, then they get flagged. So at the start you get checked. Have you got anything dodgy? No. Okay, go through the mixer. Next time you try to use it, you won't be able to use it because you went through your own wallet. The thing is, this has been a problem with Bitcoin since day one, is that privacy only works if we do it for everything all the time. If we only do it for like part-time, the people that need it the most will be people that are doing stuff that is a little bit more of need of that sort of thing, or people that are really, really privacy centric. And you're right. Like, if you're running a business, I don't want all my employees knowing exactly how much every employee is getting paid because, you know, you're making deals. Some people feel that they're better than they are, and there's all sorts of dynamics there. The other thing is, if you're running a business, you don't want your customer to know where you're sourcing your goods from or what your markup is. Like, these are just standard things in normal business, and why you need privacy. So these idiots that go on about like, ooh, we got nothing to hide. Yeah, go on then, show everything. Well, pull down your pants, show it all. You know what? Like, it's just silly. So it's the most naive nonsense to say that you don't need privacy. And so, of course, you need privacy. And really, this is sort of why Monero and such really are important. But I think what will happen is that Bitcoin, my hope is that Bitcoin becomes so entrenched, and it slowly starts bringing in like functions like Mast and what's the thing that Charlie Lee's put into Litecoin now? Oh, it's slipped my mind, but it's also a privacy feature. And as these features start coming in, I'm hoping that eventually it just happens where all of a sudden the entire network, including the network of merchants, suddenly upgrade, and hey presto, everything's more private. That's my hope, because it does. What happens is that once you put brakes on things, you can see it with this wallet. No one's going to use this wallet anymore. So if you start putting in, if you start having to like weird laws, like, you need to check for ones that you have one Satoshi that was in a weird transaction 3 transactions ago. Yeah, so it is weird. Although there are points in certain regulations where if something goes to a sketchy market, you cannot really flag that too much. Like, you can flag it internally, but it's not guilt, because they might have accidentally done it. They might have, there's a whole bunch of scenarios where you have the benefit of the doubt on the side of the law. So yeah, it's a very, very complex topic. My wish is that we go full privacy and let good old-fashioned police work deal with the abhorrent criminals that are just in society, that are doing all sorts of horrible stuff, and rather than trying to stop the money flow, because stopping the money flow stops a vast. I feel there's a further there's more to be lost by doing that than there is to be gained by stopping the crime. So stopping the money is very, very new. It's not something that's it's what, maybe 40, 50 years old, if that. And back then, before that, it was always just good old-fashioned police work. You find the criminal, you find who's doing, you stop them, you arrest them, you put them in prison. Nowadays, it's much more about just stopping the money, because it's a lot easier. And I understand it's a lot easier, but it's also not a good thing for society to put brakes on money. You want that to be as fluid as possible to have an economy, because an economy at the end of the day is only the sum of all transactions that people are doing. And if you're putting handbrakes on transactions, it's terrible, especially a push technology like crypto, that where you're just all of a sudden got these coins that someone's sent to your address. So yeah.